Hi, it's Chef Rick, and today I'm making Cornish pasties.
So the most traditional Cornish pasty recipe there is, we're going to start with strong white bread flour, some salt, butter and lard. All of the quantities will be in the description below. Take those ingredients and rub them together until you make something that looks like breadcrumbs. So we've done this before in a previous video, but I'm just going to show you again what rubbing is. So rubbing is keeping your hands dry with the flour so everything doesn't just completely cake onto your hands and stick to them, but then taking each of the softer ingredients, in this case the butter and lard, and literally rubbing it between your fingers. So there you can see I'm rubbing it, and as I'm rubbing it, it's breaking apart, it's getting the dry flour onto it, and it's forming what ultimately wants to be a breadcrumb type mixture. So I've sped this up here, but if you just keep rubbing these between your fingers, as long as everything's nice and cold, like the butter and the lard is nice and cold, it'll rub together nicely and form a breadcrumb. So you'll see what the end result looks like in a second. That is rubbing together. So there you go. So there's your kind of light breadcrumb textured mixture, to which we're going to add cold water. Give that a good mix round, just combine everything together. And once it's combined, first thing, I would always recommend using your hands like I do with most of the recipes that I cook. But when you are cooking something like this, if it really sticks to your fingers at the beginning, it's probably a good sign. It just means if you keep on doing it, it's ultimately going to all come off your fingers and it's all going to stick to itself instead of sticking to you. So you can see all I'm doing right now is just combining everything together with the water. You can see it's coming together really well before we're going to knead it on the work surface. So combine it all in a bowl first. Make sure that you've got the base for your pastry, and onto a work surface that's very, very, very lightly floured. You can cake. When I'm using a pastry like this, I think I don't really want the surface to be completely floured, because if there was another, I don't know, 200-300 grams of flour on there, then this pastry would soak it up. Whereas I want the pastry to still be really, really smooth and slightly, that's the word I'm looking for, it goes a little bit crisper, I think, than if it's not had too much flour on it. So I'm now going to knead this on the work surface until it is elastic, so it kind of bounces back on itself and it starts to go shiny, it starts to go smoother. And kneading is just this process of pushing it out thin, folding it over itself and rolling it up again. So we're just going to knead that pastry. There you go. Whilst I'm doing that, you know what I'm going to ask? If you could please like if you like my videos, please click like at the bottom, and if you're not subscribed, please click subscribe. It's totally free for you, but it really helps me. I do 3 of these videos a week. I really appreciate it if you do that, but if not, no problem at all. So you can see now the texture of that. Even though it's sped up, you can see the shine that it's getting on it, the fact that it's becoming lovely and smooth. So that's it. That's what we're waiting for. Once it's smooth and shiny and it's kind of bouncing back on itself, it's still got a tiny bit of stickiness to it, wrap it in cling film and put that in the fridge until ready to use. So I would encase that nicely in cling film, get that in the fridge. And I've been using this, or I use this for kind of 3 days after for different pasties, so don't worry too much about how long it's in there. This is skirt steak. This was actually taken off the top of a what's it called? A brisket, the top of a brisket. But just ask your butcher for skirt steak. It's very, very inexpensive, but it's beautiful. It's really, really nice when slow cooked. You want to chop that up into nice bite-sized pieces, so kind of strips like that. If there's loads of fat in it, you don't mind a bit of fat in it at all. You certainly want bits of that fat in there, but if there's bits that are way too fatty, cut them off. But then all you are looking to do, as you can see what I'm doing here, is I'm just taking it, chopping it up. No particular order in which I'm doing it, I'm just making sure that they're all about the right size. Again, all the quantities will be down in the description below. That's a really beautiful skirt steak, all chopped into lovely strips. Don't forget, things like skirt steak need to be cooked slowly, but this is cooked slowly in the oven, so you'll be right with that. A Swede, a yellow Swede. So I literally just chop it in half, only because of the amount I need here. So that's the only reason I've kind of chopped it like that. Otherwise I would have just peeled the whole thing. But I reckon I'm only going to need around about half of this. So first thing you'll do is peel it, which is really easy. Normal peel, just like you would do with a potato when you're peeling a Swede or turnip. Different names for this, either a yellow turnip, but this is what I would call a Swede, yellow Swede. And all I'm going to do, it's very, very easy to slice, is I'm just going to take off some of those edges where they round slightly. Don't throw those away, you can do anything with those, but it just makes it a little bit easier to cube. So I think what I will do is I end up turning it almost into a loaf shape, slicing thick slices off that loaf, and then taking each of those slices and slicing them down an even number of times, and then turning those individual lengths and chopping them the other way, and that's how you're going to get cubes. And now with potatoes, we're going to do the same again. So you're going to peel the potatoes, and you are then going to cut them lengthways. In fact, I'll wait. I'll talk you through it as I do it. So here we go. So we're going to chop them into very sort of thick slices. Again, as like before with the Swede, almost as if you were slicing a loaf of bread. So you're going to chop it into nice thick slices first of all. Then you're going to take each of those slices and you're going to chop them into long lengths, or sort of battens or fingers or juliennes, if you will. Take all of them and then slice them the other way as well, so you end up with nice cubes. And that's your cubed and diced potato and an onion. Here we go, we're continuing a theme with chopping an onion in every single video that I do, but this one is, we're not going to go for a fine dice or anything else. We're just going to take off the top as we always do and chop it in half. Now you can see in the middle of this onion, it's like a little bit of dark bit there, and I could have gone off and got a fresh one and made the video look all perfect for you, but this is the real world, and you will often find onions or veg that has like maybe a little dark area in. All I had to do there was pull out those two core bits of the onion, and I got rid of all of it, and the rest of it there is all absolutely perfect and ready to eat. So in reality, in real life, you are always going to find little dark bits in some of your veg. It's really not a problem to cook with them, unless kind of you use your own what's the word I'm looking for, you gauge whether or not you want to cook them, but also don't be afraid to just pull them out. It's not a problem at all. So here's what we're doing with this onion. We're slicing down, and like when we cube them, we chop into it. Again, we're not going to do that this time. We're just going to chop through it and then chop against each of those lengths, so we end up with kind of cubes of onion. We don't need a finely diced onion. We want this onion obviously to give loads of flavour and everything, but we also want it to be a taste in the mouth. So any slightly longer bits, just chop through them, but do not kind of finely dice or mince this onion like we do in most of our other videos. So with this one, just kind of chop it roughly. That'll do. So now I'm just going to combine the main ingredients. So that's the skirt steak, the Swede, the potato, and the onion. That's it. They're the traditional ingredients of a Cornish pasty. You'll see recipes online that have all sorts of things in there, and you think, do you reckon that the miners of Cornwall or the fishermen of Cornwall really had these sort of ingredients? You know, this is what they had, and you know, you can add anything you want to this, but I promise you, if you just keep these three core ingredients, you're going to have something absolutely incredible. The three core veg and the meat. This is as simple as it gets, but it's as good as it gets. So we're just going to mix those round. Or not seasoning it. At that point, we are not seasoning the meat and veg mixture. I'll show you this bit just because it's going to happen as well. So we're going to, when the pasties are made, before they go in the oven, they're going to get an egg wash. So whilst you're prepping, you want to prep it at this point. So you're just going to take an egg, some whole milk, whisk it together, and that's going to be your egg wash for later on. But I may as well show you it being made. Here is the pastry out of the fridge. So that's been chilling in the fridge now. It's probably had, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. So I went out for a bit. Now you can flour the work surface and roll this out as thin as you can. Now, when I say as thin as you can, of course, if you're a big muscle man, you'll push this as thin as pasta. But really, I find, you know, I'm quite strong, and as I push this down, it almost finds a point where it's not going to go any thinner without me starting to put my back right into it. So maybe about when it's ½ inch thick. But it's weird, it's like it's just a natural, it only sort of allows you to roll it to a certain thickness. It's strange here, but I'll show you how I do it with this one. This one is just for demonstration purposes, of course. When you're making them en masse, you won't be as careful as I'm being with the way I'm rolling it out. And this pasta, pastry, you can be quite rough with. You can re-roll it and scrunch it back up and put it back in the fridge. You don't be precious with this kind of pastry. So I'm just going to roll it out. Sort of, like I said, as thin as I can get it without putting loads of pressure on it. So just keep reflouring it, just making sure it doesn't stick. You can see I'm pushing down with my hands there, but it's not suddenly going massive. It's not suddenly getting loads and loads longer. It's almost found it's a nice word for that point that I'm looking for. But anyway, that's about what we're looking for. So you get a small side plate, which should be about 18 to 20 centimeters. This is going to be the mould. So we're just going to cut around the side plate with a sharp knife. Again, the rest of that pastry, screw it back up into a ball, put it back with the other pastry, re-chill it, keep cooking with it. Don't be precious about it. That's not wasted. And that is the pastry base. Here goes the filling. So make a nice mixture of the filling. You'll be very tempted to just over meat this, but you've got to think about each of the bites. You don't just want a solid meat thing. You're not making a sausage roll, you're making a pasty. So make sure there's a nice ratio of meat to veg. Saying that, do what you want. Fill it with meat, fill it with veg. It's your choice, it's your pasty. And at this point is where you season it. So you didn't season it earlier on, we're going to season it when it's in the pasty. So salt and black pepper. Again, as much as you like to suit your taste. I always find them really nice and peppery, and plus I love black pepper anyway, so yeah, I go heavy on the pepper, but that's entirely up to you. Wet your fingers and just run your fingers around the outside of the base there if you like. And I'm just going to fold the pasty in half, on top of itself. Slightly moist fingers, but slightly wet dough. So you can see how your fingers and the dough haven't all stuck together, but you just want that pressed down nicely, and that will hold and that will keep the pasty in place. We're not going to poke any air holes or prick anything into it like we will with a pie, but we will crimp the edge. I am not a professional crimper. I am sure some Cornish housewife is watching this video now laughing at my attempt at crimping an edge, but it really doesn't matter at all. You'll see in a moment, even something as ugly as the way I'm doing it turns out really good. The crimping of the edge, by the way, is just folding over the seal that you've just made once back over itself. It just keeps everything airtight and stops all the pasties spilling out. But that is a Cornish pasty. Ready to go into the oven, nearly ready to go into the oven. It's going to have an egg wash as well, but I will just make one more for you. So we've got two. So again, you see that seal in the top, because the pastry has got butter in it and that lard, and you've just wet it and it's kind of been worked by your hands. It wants to stick to something, so that finds a really, really nice seal anyway. And you see that seal kind of probably would do, but just for the sake of it looking nice and really being proper, you want to take the seal and sort of fold it over itself, fold it back on itself, fold it back on itself. Of course you'll have like tiny little bits that are going to spurt out the edges, but it won't matter at all. This is going to hold it together nicely. So there they are, ready to go into the oven. So now they're just going to get the egg wash that we made. So this is egg and milk whisked together. Cover the whole thing. Just going to give it a lovely shine for when it comes out the oven. These are both going into the oven for around about 50 minutes or up to an hour, depending on your oven. I would always check it. All the temperatures and etc. are going to be in the description below. But I would check this after about 40 minutes and just have a look at it. But yeah, anywhere between sort of 50 minutes and an hour in the oven. Here these are at 55 minutes. Look at those. You can see what I mean. We see the very bottom one on the left hand side. Some of the juice has come out and gone on the side of the pan, but it doesn't matter once you've lifted them off that baking sheet and put them on the side. That is a Cornish pasty. You would never really slice into it like this. It's just so I can show you inside that everything is cooked and perfect. It's absolutely delicious. It's completely traditional. It's taste of Cornwall. If you've ever been to Cornwall, then this is the Cornish pasty. Anyone from Cornwall, tell me if I've done this wrong or how you would do something different. I very much doubt it. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate every single viewer, and I'll see you on the next one.